Hello everyone and welcome to yet another episode of Young with Ram. You know, the series where you ask the questions and I give the answers. Each week you have the chance to post the questions you want in the comment section of the videos of Young with Ram, and I will take a look in the next week and see if I answer them or not. I usually do. So yeah, well, this week, last week actually, I put up no videos other than the podcast with Miss Mark. Actually, I was taking a slight break from War Thunder. I have discovered some new titles, thinking if I should make some videos about them or not, because usually when I put up things that are not War Thunder related, they don't get many views. So, right now I'm playing Hearthstone, as you know. I also playing an early access to Buzz Aldrin's new space game, strategy game, very similar to Varys, Buzz Aldrin's Race into Space, early 90s title, which was really cool for its time. I also have Godus or Gadus or I don't know the new title from the creator of Populous, which was a game where you were a god. It's pretty cool also. And yeah, then I'm playing Hearthstone, of course. And I still have to restart European Universalis videos. So, I've been touching different games. I have some things going on in real life, and I didn't have a lot of time to spend in War Thunder. But as you can see, I still fly it now and then. I have some games to show, and I'm going to do so in this particular video. And also, I will of course be uploading more during this week, and winning the pace again and starting to. I want to regain the momentum I had. I usually put one video or two each day. I'm going to try to do that again. Um, as for the game, there are not a lot of news since the last week. There have been some events. There have been some. Every week there's always some complaining. So, yeah, about the game, we are all holding our breath to the next patch, which should bring tanks. We'll see if that happens or not. Anyway, the next patch is going to bring some new planes, so we are all expecting that. That's it for summing up this week. So let's start with the questions. Hey Ram, have you read Tigers in the Mud by Otokarius? And if yes, what do you think about it? No, I haven't. I don't have it, and it's actually a book I was looking for some time ago. Well, a long time ago. Well, in the past when I still didn't have internet access, so before the early 2000s. So really, I should actually get it, and probably will. It's a book I'm really interested in reading, but I still haven't done so. So yeah. Next question. Uh, oh, Bismarck. Focus on any doesn't make you happy. You've never met Magda and Rosalind then. Sucks to you. Well, Bis, I can do things to a girl that I can't do to an airplane. Or rather, I can do things to a girl that if I do with an airplane, I'm absolutely sick. So let's leave it at that. Next question. What do you think of the Junkers 87 G2? I play lots of historical battles in it, mainly Malta. Most of my kills are fighters. You should try it in historical battles. It's amazing against heavies and bombers and typhoons. Well, excuse me. I have tried it a couple times, but the problem is when I'm flying historical battles, I'm trying to fly the plane as what it was in its historical setup, which is a tank buster. And to be honest, I'm not good with it in tank busting. Tank busting. I think the 37mm APCR is not as effective as it should be against tanks. I have gotten a lot of passes with several hits on the rear and top of enemy tanks and getting no kills. So I simply gave up on that. When I fly a Stuka, usually is the D5, the 20 millimeter version. As for being great against broken fighters, if the broken fighter is absolutely retarded, I guess it is. But the problem is that the Stuka, even while it turns very well, it bleeds speed very fast. And actually, all you have to do to kill a Stuka is just not turning with it. So if the broken fighter pilot has a brain, which is actually something worth considering if they do. And if they do, they should be ashamed. Yeah, I can see it working. I can see it working and giving nasty surprises, but I don't see myself. I may give it a try just for the lulz, but no, not really interested into that. But yeah, I have flown the G2. If the cannons worked like I feel they should, it would be a very nice armor busting plane. But as it stands, I simply struggle to hit anything to kill anything that's not a light tank. So well, probably I will try it more. We'll see. Next question. Ram, if I'm flying a heavy fighter that doesn't have that good maneuverability, and someone like a Jack wants to have a head-on pass, I just know that my pilot is going to die. And only sometimes I'll kill him, but not usually. Is there a way to get out? Actually, if you are in a heavy fighter and a Jack tries to get a head-on on you, you should accept it. But under your own rules. Remember that a Jack, Jack 90, Jack 9K, they have very heavy weaponry, but it's slow firing. So don't come in steady from long range. Just try to give him an offset angle until you hit maybe 800 meters, and then try to move into him and start shooting them. That will ruin his early shots because he will be aiming for a spot you are not at, because you were giving him a lead shot at the beginning, you were not aiming at him, and then you aim at him. So you are moving out of the predicted path he will be aiming for. And while his guns are very slow firing and reliant on long tracking times, you will probably have a very high rate of fire weaponry. So it's much easier for you to get hits on him. So in order to do a good head-on pass against planes like the Yak 90 or the Yak 9K or the P39, what you want to do is to give them an offset angle from a long range, and when you are moving closer, is then when you go for the shot. Usually they don't expect it as well, so because they are committed to head-on. So you are both ruining their long-range aiming, and you are giving yourself a higher chance to get hits on him. You don't really want to do anything else because a Yak is a plane that maneuvers very well, and usually heavy fighters don't maneuver that well. Of course, if you are in a broken fighter, it's a totally different story. But if you are in a BF-110 or which turns very well but loses speed in a second, or in a ME-410, or maybe Dornier 217, or any heavy plane. You want to go for the head-on without question because you can't turn with him. But do so in your own rules. I mean, set the head-on so it maximizes your chances to hit and to kill, and minimizes his. So, ruining his long-range shooting is really important for those slow-fighting, hard-hitting weapons as the 37 millimeters and the 45 millimeters. Next question. Ram, which fighters are broken now? I'm relatively new to the game, only rank 9. I know Blue Fighter is one of them. The A20 gotta hate it. Yeah, you and everyone. Uh, Historical battles almost 15 minutes to catch one. Yeah, that's the problem with the A20. Well, broken, anything with more than one engine, chances are it's broken. The only exception I can think of is the ME410. All the rest, they maneuver too good. They usually are faster and climb much better than what they should. The ME410 actually is very close to historical performance and turn times. The others, the Broken Fighter is absolutely nuts. The Dornier 217s turn too good. The Mosquitoes turn way too good. The Japanese twins are insane. Well, mostly if you are looking at it and has two engines, it's broken. if it's not a Mi-410. The Mi-410 has a redeeming factor that it has brutal weaponry, but and it's very fast. But other than that, it's not broken. And well, other than that, and it's not broken at all. Um, as for single engine planes that are really broken, in general, most of the Japanese ones climb too good. And in particular, the N1K2, I still think it only doesn't climb too good. It does it to a very high altitude when it shouldn't, and has some serious energy retention issues. I think it's the single engine most broken plane at the moment. The BF109 G10 is actually pretty broken as well as right now, but not as bad. And the problem is the G10 climbs really, really well, and actually climbs better than what it should as well. So yeah, probably in single engine planes, the N1K and the BF109 G10 are the most problematic right now. There are some others that are overperforming, but not so much as to the point of saying they are broken. Of course, then we have the problem of the Spitfire, the premium Spitfire, the American one at level 11. That's not overperforming and that's not broken, but the problem is it's at a level it doesn't belong to. So it's also, let's say, not broken, but it's not really nice to fly that thing against planes that simply have no chance at all. It's a 45 plane and it's going against 9041 planes. It's not really fair. But as for broken, most twin engine planes, and N1K and BF109 G10. I will say those are the most flagrant cases at the moment. Next question. Ram, what do you think about the Doras FM after the 1.31 fix? Are they broken, underperforming, or they are fine as they are right now? Well, they are underperforming and vastly underperforming. In the case of the D12, is is really, 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 really bad. If you don't believe me, well, if you have the level, try to do so. Fly a Focus 190 D12 in test mode. It takes the whole strip to take off. Simply doesn't have any slow speed, acceleration, or climb rate at all. There seems to be a bug with the RPM and the engine, probably the propeller at slow speeds. Something very similar to what happens with the Hellcat, I think, the F6F, but to an even bigger extreme. As for the D13, is underperforming right now. Back in 1.29, the performance figures of the Focus 190 D13 were very close to the historical ones. Seems, however, that somehow the model was too light, and they added a virtual, an existing invisible bomb load of 600 kilograms to the Doras, which utterly killed the D12 and destroyed most of the abilities of the D13. It's still a very capable fighter, don't take me wrong, but I mean, from historical performance, the problem in 1.29 was not that the Dora was overperforming, which was not. The problem is that everyone was flying one and the matchmaking couldn't cope with that. And so you would end going against Doras in a P40, which is absolutely retarded. As retarded as it is finding a Spitfire Mark 9 Premium with a BF193, which I have found, by the way. So the thing here is that they had a massively powerful plane and was going against very early warplanes that couldn't match it. Also back then there were not real matches for the D13. The Spitfire LF Mark 9 was still not here. The Tempest back then was utterly broken in what regards to dive and zoom and speed. So the Focus 180 the Dora was perfectly good, but they simply had no competition out of the P51, which was a hell of a plane to kill Doras back then, by the way. And you can see in some of my videos of back then, me flying P51s against Doras. The problem was that there was no proper opposition to the Dora. A well-flown Dora was impossible to kill for any allied fighter. That was not a yet, of course. So the problem was that there was no real competition. Not that the plane was overperforming. Seems that even though it wasn't overperforming, somehow it was too light. So they added some weight, but it didn't add power to the engine to compensate for that extra weight. So they ended up with a total mess up of a plane. No, they are not okay. They are broken, and they will be fixed. DRAM is working on them. The head of the German flight developer team, a flight model development team, is working on them. Seems he's very close to finishing the job, and probably we will see a new model for the Doras very soon. Hopefully, because I love those planes. Next question. What do you think about the Hurricane 2D slash 4 when it comes out with two 40 millimeter cannons? I think it's going to be very similar to the current Junkers 87G2. Of course, it's going to be a tad faster. It's going to be more like a fighter, but not much more. I mean, the Hurricane is and was a really underpowered fighter. Couldn't climb, couldn't accelerate. Was very good at turning, and it was a decent fighter for 1940. But afterwards, it simply was obsolete, and that's why it was relegated to ground attack roles. What do I think it will happen? It will happen something very similar to what happens with the Stuka G, which I actually spoke about it in this same video. Very, very good turning, but not enough speed, climb rate, or acceleration to actually compete versus enemy fighters. Might make a better bomber killer, but still lacks the speed. I mean, it's a slow plane for the standards of the time those planes were flying, which was 1942 mostly. At that time, it was a slow plane without any question. Ground attack dedicated plane. Well, it might be a very interesting plane to fly with the new tanks coming. But of course, we have the problem that the Hurricane is a British plane and that we only have German and Russian tanks. So probably it's not going to see a lot of ground vehicles other than in arcade. Um, for historical battles, I think it's going to be not really important, to be honest. The Junkers 87G2 is very rarely flown, and for a reason. So I think there's a lot of hype about very big weapons in War Thunder, which I understand in arcade, because in arcade you really want the bigger gun you can, because limited rate of fire or overheating, or mostly the major problem with big guns, which is the restricted clip, is not a problem. You can reload in the air, but in historical battles they don't perform as well, with some exceptions. I think the P63 and the Yak 9T actually have very competent 37 millimeters that can do a really good job for air-to-air combat. But other than that, I don't know. And even so, they are 40 millimeters. They are in the wings. They are not synchronized, and they will force the plane to yaw a lot, which was a problem with the Hurricane. So I don't think it's going to be that effective, to be honest. It's going to be an interesting plane to fly, and I probably will do so because I like to, for a change of pace, just to run and ground attack plane now and then. But I don't think it's going to be really effective. Not sure about that, but I don't think so. Next question. Ram, how do you feel when you are shot down in War Thunder by one of your subscribers, and what is the RANGB reaction to that? Usually pride, to be honest. A lot of times when I'm killed by someone who's I don't know, but later he comments on chat or maybe in a private message that he's a subscriber of mine, I usually am proud. I like to know that people are learning from the game. And part of the reason I'm doing this is because I like challenges and I like people flying better. So that to know that people are getting as good as to really measure up to people who are flying for a long time. I have been flying for a long time virtually. Really makes me proud. So usually I have a very positive reaction, and not just when I kill someone. Actually, in the first video of this sequence of this clip, you have seen me flying Fokker 590 versus Spitfire 9, a premium one. That plane was actually flown by one of my subscribers. I had a chat with him later, and he actually told me that he was using the evasion moves he had seen in my channel. So I couldn't kill him because he was actually evading like I had taught him so. Usually my reason is pride. Is not not pride in wow I'm cool, but wow. People are really benefiting from my stuff. So usually I'm happy. Usually, well, not happy. I mean, I never am happy when I'm shut down, but you know what I mean. Um, my usual reason when I shut down is a good shot or good kill. But now and then, when bullshit happens, I usually say so as well in the chat. Lucky shot or oh shit, you very much can do that with that broken plane, that kind of stuff. Mostly with broken fighters. Uh, but usually when I can get killed is a good kill or well flown or well fought. And if it's a subscriber, it's really cool to see that people are learning and people are getting better at this game thanks to watching what I put up. Gives this channel a reason after all. This channel is for people, for you guys to learn and enjoy and improve your game. So yeah, I'm happy when that happens. Next question. Ram, have you ever smoked weed? Oh yes, well I think everyone has. Who hasn't? Yes, I have tried weed, and honestly, I didn't like it. I didn't like the feel of fishiness it gives you. Um, I I don't get it. I mean, I tried it maybe two, three times, and I could never understand why people would do that. Because on me it was like, okay, cool, yeah. Well, I have to admit that the last time I smoked weed, it actually was a little bit different because, well, nah, I was with my girlfriend, and the sex afterwards was the best sex ever. But yeah, let's leave it at that. Um, yeah. Other than that, I mean, for recreational stuff, for being with people, hanging out, and I mean, do you really need weed to have fun with people? I don't know. I have fun with people. I laugh a lot with people, and I don't need to smoke anything. I actually don't do any drugs. I do smoke, but I don't smoke weed. Even while I've been tempted in the past to try some hardest drugs, just to try it out. I have a high respect for the risks involved because there are risks. Whoever denies that really shouldn't try them in the first instance. In the end, I might have not been the braver guy in what regards to drugs, and I think it's something to add. I mean, it's something is experience after all. If you try them out, knowing what you are doing, and knowing perfectly the risks involved, and knowing perfectly that it's just to experience on yourself what those things do, it can be actually good. Um, Gives you a better understanding of them and their effects after all. But I have a too deep respect, and I'm scared about the proper possible consequences of using those things and consuming those things. So I have never done any harder drug than weed. And as I said, weed only a couple times, and only once, I saw why it could be cool, and it wasn't related to social stuff, but more about after after party activities. Let's leave it at that. Next question. Ram, you really need to make a question list in the description with the time link. And also the 1 hour format is too long. I've been discouraged. About the 1 hour format, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to answer as many questions as I can. So sometimes it's going to drag for 1 hour. Sometimes it's going to be shorter. Who knows? As for the questions list, I don't know. In a way, I feel that is kind of people might lose a lot of things if they are only focusing on things they interest them in the list. I really want people to see the whole video or to listen to it. I think every question I answer has some interest. It might be funny, it might be interesting, it might be informative, it might be whatever. I think it doesn't hurt to hear it entirely. So that's why I have never posted a question list. I might do so in the future. We'll see. I don't know. Probably if a lot of people request it, I might do so. But so far, only a handful of people have. So I don't know. I don't think I will for the time being. Sorry if that discourages you, but I don't know. It's the way I see it. Next question. What's the deal with all the background be playing chaos? Well, 2 weeks ago there was an anniversary event where in historical battles all you could fly would be reserve aircraft in arcade battle domination maps, which was pretty fun and very intense. So I got most of my gameplay for that video on that event. So that's why there were so many biplanes and there was so much chaos. Because really, biplanes, I, I don't really do very well with them. Too much turning and burning. I don't know. I'm much more of a momentum guy. Anyway, next question. Next question is related with what I said last week about me not doing, not making a clan and being the leader of it. The comment is, you don't have to be diplomatic to be a leader. In my opinion, that's not the definition of a leader. Speaking your mind is a better trait, I think. In my experience, a leader is a person who knows when to follow orders and in other cases knows when to take the lead. A leader ends his position through respect alone. I actually agree, but your definition of a leader is in a wide scope of things. A leader in the business world, a leader in the military, an alpha individual, someone who really makes the calls because he has earned the right to do so, because everyone else respects him. However, we are speaking about an MMO here, a free-to-play game, multiplayer, massive multiplayer online. Clans or squadrons or virtual squadrons should have a sense or a degree of intercommunication. And most of them do so. Most of them are just people who just band together to fly together, but people also go into clans which have a hierarchy and they take things a little bit more serious and they actually have inter-clan communication and that kind of stuff. I think in War Thunder and in any major social media, which after all this is a game with people online and is a social, between many other things, is a social tool. People who are in the leading spots should show not just leadership for the guys in their squadron, they also should show good manners and a lot of diplomacy when dealing with other people. Because when you are the leader of a clan, you're speaking in the name of everyone who's in the clan. And you have to give a good impression. You have to see him as a role model. Let's face it, in many cases, I'm not a role model. And I don't want to be. I don't intend to be a role model. A lot of times, being a good leader of a clan, and I know this by experience, by the way. I've been in too many online simulators by this moment to know exactly what I'm talking about. So should show some restraint, some diplomacy. A lot of times he can't really speak his mind because he has to speak remembering that he's representing a group, not just himself. And you don't want as a leader to put the whole group behind you in an awkward position because you have spoken some things that other people might take badly. I think diplomacy in this kind of particular topic, which is online gaming, diplomacy is a skill you must have in order to be a leader, and I simply don't have it. Nor I don't want. I don't want to have it. I mean, I want to speak my mind, and if anyone gets bad hurt by it, so be it. It's his problem. I don't care. I lost maybe. I was watching the statistics the other day. The last War Thunder video I put up, which was the MiG 3 and Typhoon 1 video, where I said I was not going to help any bullfighter player, costed me maybe 55 subscribers. You can see the statistics of the subscribers you get each day and you lose each day. And that particular day I lost 55 subscribers, which is roughly 45 more than what I lose daily. More or less each day 10 people go out of my channel for whatever reason. That day was 55. It's a huge spike. And of course, which is the reason for that? The video I put up. The video I put up, I just say that broken fighters are broken, and that whoever flies them, is not going to get my support at all. Well, that's not diplomatic. A lot of people are going to dislike that, and a lot of people are going to get hurt by that. If they do so, their own problem. And I personally deal with the consequences of what I say or do. In my case, it's losing 55 subscribers, which hurts, of course. I'm not going to say not. But also, I'm of the opinion that if people don't really agree with what I say, they are perfectly entitled to unsubscribe. I don't want them to, but they can do so. In that particular day, not being diplomatic, which a lot of other YouTube producers are, costed me subscribers. But it's me dealing with the consequences. I said something, I stated something, which I totally and absolutely state again, and that costed me viewers. Well, I paid for the consequences. Now think if I'm the leader of a group. If I say something and everyone else has to pay for those consequences, it's not fair for all of the rest. So no, there's no way I'm going to lead a clan, because I'm not going to feel free to say what I think, because every moment I will be thinking in the consequences for the rest of the guys in my group. So no way. I'm not going to be that kind of. I'm not going to start a clan, because I'm not a good leader in that sense. Next question. Ram, what do you mean by broken fighter? Well, broken fighter, bullfighter. The bullfighter is the most broken plane in the game right now, especially the Mark 6. But also the Mark 10 is something to, well, something else. Anyway, yeah, the broken fighters are those planes. Next question. Ram, what do you think about the Hawker Sea Fury? How do you think it will compare with other planes? Well, the Sea Fury is basically a navalized and slightly better version of the Hawker Tempest 2, which is coming in the next patch, or at least that seems. We have seen art of the plane. I think it's going to be probably a level 16 fighter. I think it's going to compare amazingly with other fighters of its level. Actually, the Tempest 5, the one we have right now, for me is one of my favorite boom assumers in the game right now. The Tempest 2 is going to be better, and the Sea Fury is going to be as good, if not better, as the Tempest 2. So heck of a plane, heck of a plane. Great performance, magnificent dive and zoom, killer weapons. I mean, Hispano Mark 5. Wow, 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 just wow. How will it compare with the position when? Well, I have stated many times that the Tempest Mark 5 is the best boom assumer in the game, other than the TA-152. Remember it that the TA-152, the German one, sees a lot of jets. The Tempest does not. So it's going to be an awesome plane. It's going to be very high tier, however, but it should be because of performance and because of history. It's a brute in performance, really bestial performance, and it actually arrived after World War II was over, so is a level 16, no question about that. It's one of my favorite all-time planes, by the way. So yeah, I'm expecting it to be really good. Next question. Ram, I have noticed you don't use zoom to aim better. Is that because you are a nice lad, or do you just not think about it? I don't think it has anything to do with being a nice lad. No, the problem is that zooming in while you are aiming and shooting, I don't get a proper feel for the distances involved. I actually have a Focus 190 video app with live commentary where I smashed myself against an AI because of that. I was aiming submitted and wasn't. I didn't have the proper feeling for the closure rate, and I smashed myself against him as a result. Um, the thing is that somehow I don't feel comfortable using it while I'm fighting. I rather fire in normal view. I think it's more for me. Works better. I use zoom a lot, um, particularly with mixed with the center view key, which centers your view around the target plane and zooms it a little bit to see more or less and to have a clear view or on how the enemy plane is maneuvering and what is direction, etc., to set myself for the gun pass. But in the gun pass itself, I usually don't zoom in because I feel it ruins my gunnery and I actually run a really big risk of colliding with the target when I'm fighting because I don't get a proper feel for the closure rate. So that's why I don't zoom in when I'm fighting. Next question. What do you think about the upcoming D9 from Premium for the USSR and the idea of captured planes? I don't like the idea of any captured planes in other nations. I don't own any. Even while I have thought for a long while to purchase the P-47 for the Germans, because I love the plane. But the teams, it has to be, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. But the plane itself is brutal. I don't like the idea of captured planes in historical battles. I mean, captured planes were captured. They were single-digit captures, and they were subjected to testing, not to frontline use. Actually, that's true for the American and British planes. The Germans actually did use the captured planes in action, in special squadrons and special units to kind of confuse the enemy. There are some instances of captured P-47s coming close to bomber formations. There are some instances of captured B-17s forming up with bomber formations to send out messages about where they are heading. There's actually a very good instance of one of those cases in 1943 or 1944, I think it was. The 15th Air Force, which was operating from Italy and doing strategic bombing from there, bombed with B-24s and B-17s targeting Germany and then settled to the USSR. So the mission profile was taken off from captured Italy, go to the target area, and then go to the USSR, land there, reload there, and then do another bombing run to shuttle back to Italy. So the thing went really good. They took off, they bombed the objective, and then they moved on and landed in the USSR. The only problem there is that after they landed, a pretty big strike of Heinkel 177s, 177s, the German heavy bombers, came over the airfield and destroyed a lot of those bombers. And well, the question was rising: how did the Germans know they were at that particular airfield? And what that happened was that a captured German bomber, a captured, I think it was a B-24 actually, actually formed up with the bombing force and followed them all the way to the area where they were landing. And then they radioed the position of the airfield the forces were landing. And then the Germans struck with a couple of heavy bomber squadrons and wiped out not most of the bombers, but a sizable amount of bombers. They really did a lot of damage. So Germans actually used them in action. As for the D9, I know there was an operational naval aviation Soviet squadron of Focus 90 D9s, but I think they were never used in combat. What do you think about them? I would not allow them to be used in historical battles or for real battles. Honestly, I wouldn't introduce them in the first instance, but if you do, yeah. Same goes for the Japanese Focus 190. I mean, that plane was not captured, but there was one Focus 190 in Japan, and they didn't like it because, I mean, it was totally opposite to the Japanese concept of a fighter, so not surprising. Um, but I don't like the idea of captured planes. As for giving the USSR-39, it's going to be a very powerful plane indeed. But honestly, if they can't get the job done with LA-7s at level 12 or LA-5FNs at level 9, they are not going to get the job done with a Focus 189. So, yeah, whatever. Next question. Ram, do you sometimes play RTS like Wargame Airline Battle, which is at the moment on sale at Steam? I don't really like real-time strategy. Um, I have a lot of skills, but one of them is not multitasking. I'm horrible at real-time strategy. And I found out since a very, very early age. I mean, I played the first Age of Empires back in the day, way back in the day, and I actually was horrible at that already. I'm very good at strategy games, um, which are pausable and where you can give orders at any given moment. Pretty good, actually, really good at turn-based games, war games. But real strategy games, I can't deal with them. I tried with some titles, but no, I simply lack the ability to do all that multitasking and fast mouse clicking and mouse moving and keeping track on so many things at the same time. And if the game in particular includes a lot of micromanagement, it's insane. I simply can't. I'm not fast enough. Simply, I'm not. So I simply accepted the fact that I'm not good at those games and I don't play them. Which is a pity because there are some really cool games, which are real-time strategy games out there, but I'm terrible at them. So no, I don't play them. Next question. Hey Ram, what do you think about the E15 and E16? Oh well, they are seriously well performing, but not to a worrisome state. Uh, you could make a point about being up to a worrisome state given the tiers they are at, but well, they are too good for what they should, to be honest. But not serious. I mean, I don't particularly have any problems with them, because they are actually easy to counteract, especially the E15 and the E15-3. They climb like mad. They shouldn't climb the way they do, but they are very slow. So all you have to do is to keep your speed fast, and they will never catch up. As for the E16, it has a particular trait that is very undesirable. I actually have the E16, the premium one. I don't fly it a lot, but I have done so in the past. And the E16 and the E16 captured one, the Model 28, they both have some serious trouble when the nose is pointing down. I don't know exactly what it is, but when you are trying to do a speed test, for instance, the elevator simply locks up. The rate of turn goes to hell in no time as well. So yeah, I use that versus those things and actually works really well. I have After I have experienced it on my own flesh, land darting and crashing against the ground trying to follow a bandit who was doing a speed test. Doing speed tests at low altitude versus E16s is really effective because usually they end up crashing against the ground because for some reason, and I don't know exactly why, they don't really do very well in that. So there are ways to counteract them, which is nice. I mean, they are overperforming, but they are not Terminators. It's not that the broken, as a broken fighter, for instance, a plane that simply has no counter. So yeah. Next question. Do you think Japanese tanks will have many users in War Thunder? Because there will be very few, and because most were light tanks and not very good ones and lacked. At that, yes, I'm actually worried about that. I don't know exactly how they are going to do it. Maybe they will add them in setups and battles where they are actually useful. I mean, Japanese tanks were the way they were because there was no real place for Japanese for armored forces to work, let's say in the jungle or in the islands. Of course, when the Japanese fought in open lands, they missed proper armored vehicles, as in Kalkin Gol in 1939 or later on in China. But for the most part, Japan really didn't need heavy tanks, and if they somehow achieved to include them in maps that don't really favor heavy armor and where light tanks have more of an advantage because they have the higher mobility and smaller size. Well, it could be interesting. I mean, yeah, they will have a place, but of course not in direct tank versus tank combat. I mean, if you are placing a Chiha versus a KV-1, it's going to be a rape. Well, sorry for that expression. I know some people don't like it. It's going to be really bad for the Japanese tank. So I think it all evolves around map design and yeah, putting them in the situations where they can actually be useful. But it's going to be difficult, to be honest. And I'm thinking actually that the Japanese tree is going to be the last one added because it's the less competitive of them all, without a question. And probably they will have a lot of prototypes and a lot of tanks that didn't seem a lot of service. But actually, it makes sense. I mean, you really need to bring a nation to more or less decent standards because otherwise it won't be able to compete. I don't know how they will do it, honestly. I don't. But I can see ways to make them useful and to make people want to drive them. Yeah. It's going to be complicated. It's going to require a lot of job and work on Genji's part, but it can be done. At least I think it can be done. Next question. Ram, have you ever thought about becoming a flight model tester for War Thunder? I remember you saying Gaijin stopped contacting you and whatnot, but out of that, you have been one of the maybe FM testers in the world. I actually was part of the alpha team some months ago for a very short spell, maybe 2-3 weeks only. And honestly, I didn't get to test a lot of stuff back then because, well, and I'm not going to speak a lot of that because, of course, I had an NDA and I'm still bound by that NDA. But I got out of that group. Reasons don't really need to be explained. Was a mix of personal ideas and a personal class I had with one of the back then members of Gaijin. He's no longer part of Gaijin. And I got out of it. As for being it again, no, no. No, I have decided against it. And actually, I don't miss and I don't feel bad about um, that short spell about being an alpha tester back then. Of course, getting out of the team means that I didn't get to try the new goodies they were testing, which is always a bummer. But let's face it, a flight model tester, or at least one that really wants to be useful, and if I'm going to be a flight model tester, I want to be useful, has to spend a lot of time testing stuff. And testing properly requires a lot of time and a committed effort. And I have my hands full with the channel. I mean, really, I have my times really cut down because of the time I have to spend in the game, recording, rendering, uploading, etc. On top of that, being a flight model tester, no. No, because I don't have the time. And if I'm not going to be a proper tester, I'd rather not be a tester at all and leave someone who really has the will and time to spend doing that job. I'd rather leave a spot open for that guy to take advantage of it rather than take it for myself and not using it to the top and not being useful at it, which is the most important part. So no, I'm not going to. I'm not interested in that, honestly. I'm interested. I would like to because of the goodies of getting into the server and knowing before anyone else what's coming, and testing it and giving it a try and helping as well, which also is very good. If you are a flight model tester, you have a hand and you have a voice in the development of the game because if you spot something that's wrong, you can help fixing it. But really, it requires a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I don't have the time, and I can't spend that effort in that role. So no, I'm not going to be a flame model tester. Besides, I don't think they would accept me, but that's a totally different topic. Next question. Actually, the next question is not a question; it's a comment. And I loved it when I read it. This is actually about the porn question I answered last week. It says, commercial porn is like an arcade battle, unrealistic but easy to get into and fire a few clips. Amateur porn is like historical battles, more realistic, slower and boring at times, but a lot more satisfying. Real sex is like a full real battle. Unless your hardware is amazing, you'll be pretty crap at it. Best comment ever. Dr. Lequac, man, you're my hero. That's amazing. So, well, this is going to be it for this week and this Young with Ram. As always, don't forget to put up your questions in the comment section below and upvote those questions that you want to see answered the most. And also, and one further week. Last week we didn't have any because I didn't have any, but this week we do have um, just one, but I don't care. Shout out for someone who donated for my channel. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. His name is on the credit roll. It's just one, but as I said, I don't care. Anyone who supports me doesn't need to donate anything, so whatever. As always, well, guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope you have fun. And well, that's all for this week. See you later.